Alright, so basically, Spain owned Mexico, and like, the Peninsulares in Mexico were the Spanish-born Mexicans, or Spanish-born Spanish dudes who came to Mexico. They were white. And then there were the Creoles, who were the Mexican-born Spanish people, who were also white. So Mexico got its independence. And then the Peninsulares fucking fucked off somewhere. They took all the money and resources and experience and shit. So Mexico was bankrupt. It was basically fucked. It was all terrible. There was unemployment and a shit ton of labor that was needed. Laborers had no rights because of fucking the unemployment rates. So this fucking started the reign of the Caudillos, which was from 1821 to 1860. The Caudillos, they were warlords, okay? So, in that fucking 39-year period, there was like 50 different presidents, where it was a shit ton of military coups. It was president A was replaced with President B by the military. The President A was like, fuck that dude, and then he got the military, and then he came back, and then President C was like, dude, what the fuck? Basically, that's what happened. So, this made Mexico super unstable, which kind of sucked. And the presidents only ruled to get themselves power, and they didn't care about the rest of the Mexicans. And, the church, those boys, the Roman Catholic Church, they didn't like that shit. And they were the center of social life. And they were the only real stable force that was like, not like priest after priest, because that's not how the fucking church works. It was like president after president, So they had a lot of land and they rented that shit out, and they were like the largest banking operation technically. And they took care of the records, the birth, death, and marriage records and shit. So yeah, the church had close ties with the Creoles and the Caudillos, which caused the primogeniture, which means only the old. This was to make the Creoles and Caudillos happy, and the church happy. They created the primogeniture, which means only the oldest male can inherit shit for the dead dad. So the younger brothers who don't get shit go to the church or the military, or they make their own way. Which that doesn't matter. So the church and the Caudillos shared a bunch of goals and supported each other. Some real nice guys. One of these dudes was Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, and he comes back to power. So your boy's in power. He sells the Gadsden Purchase to the United States. All the fucking Mexicans get super salty about that shit because I was like, that's our thing. What the hell, dude? And so they fucking overthrow the asshole. And so Mexico begins La Reforma from 1855 to 1857, trying to make Mexico great again. They abolished the fueros, and which means that church can't be the public trial. So they get rid of the fucking church's privilege shit, but they make everyone the same. They abolished the church. The church the church has a shit ton of property, and they make the church fuck off with that shit unless it's like important in daily activities. So the church is fucked. They take away the church's rights to register all the shit, like birth, death. The church got super fucked over. Mexico got all the land and revenue. So they write the Constitution, 1857. It's got a Bill of Rights. It was okay. So in 1858, there were the Wars of Reform, which was the Caudillos versus the Reformers, which was fought for 3 years. So your boy, Benito Juarez, he was a reformer. He wins that shit. He fucks up the dudes. He's elected president because he's the best. So he separates the church and state. He allows different religions. He declares that Mexico won't pay any foreign debt, which kind of was shitty. Because France was like, dude, what the fuck? So they decided Mexico can't do shit. So Napoleon sends Napoleon the Third. No, wait. Napoleon III, that's the dude in charge. He gets Ferdinand Maximilian von Habsburg. He gets him. He sends him over to Mexico. He's like, "You're the emperor now. Do your shit." So Mexico gets super surprised by this shit. They're like, "What the fuck?" So Juarez fucks off because he's like, "This is bullshit." Maximilian makes Mexico empire. So Juarez is like, "This isn't gonna work." He makes a rebellion. He rebels. He wins in 1867. So he has fucking Maximilian. He has the emperor executed on May 5th, which is what Cinco de Mayo is. So Juarez is reelected. And then he's reelected again in 1871 against Porfirio Diaz. So Diaz was like, this asshole's a dictator because he's been elected so many fucking times. So he has a revolution. But when he starts the revolution, Juarez dies of a heart attack in 1872 because he's a piece of shit. And he's like, "Oh, my heart!" Oh shit. He's replaced by Sebastian Lerdo de Tejada, who's a fucking Juarez supporter. And then 1876, there's a new election. So your boy Porfirio Diaz is like, hold on. He's like, all right, elect me. But then he loses because he's a piece of shit. So he has another revolt. He wins. He becomes president. This starts the Porfiriato, which lasts from 1876 to 1911. So basically, this was the reign of Porfirio Diaz and his fucking yeet boys. Diaz makes the economy, politic, and social reforms that made Mexico fucking A1 steak sauce. Diaz, under him, there was a bunch of social stability and peace because he was the boy. He helped get rid of fucking Mexican debt. It was pretty good. Made the economy pretty good. Created jobs through mining, textiles, ranching, banking, etc. But that was the good shit that he did. In order to do that, he had to fuck over the rest of the Mexican people. What he did was, let's see, let me read my notes here. He was kind of an asshole. He ruled as a tyrant. He was the head of the army, so he could do whatever the fuck he wanted. He always helped out the elite, the fucking rich dudes, so he could get loyalty from them because they had a bunch of power. He used his system to micromanage Mexico. He had his advisors called the científicos, who controlled a shit ton of the country as well. They also controlled politics, economics, military, and justice system. This caused only a tiny bit of the population to benefit from the economic progress. So basically only the already rich people, the científicos and Diaz, got the fucking shit. Everybody else was like made 25 cents a fucking day because they suck dick. Let's see. Most of the other Mexicans had to work for low wages, long hours, and in bad conditions. And Diaz had to compromise with the church because the church was getting salty too. He had to compromise and subdue that conflict. So basically most of Diaz's work helped out elites and foreign investors because Diaz allowed the foreign investors, to buy parts of Mexico so that they could support their business. And let's see, where was I? The business, since he's supporting the elites all the time, he's supporting the fucking foreign business dudes. There's a fucking huge ass class gap. That created a shit ton of labor and industry class issues, where Diaz was like, fuck you to the people that weren't rich. Anyway, Diaz with the church, like I was mentioning, and then I had some other fucking notes because I'm a piece of shit. Diaz, like Juarez, was like, fuck the church. So he took most of the power away. He let in other religions. He fucked over the church even more than Juarez did. He's He's going to hell. um, so with the fucking jobs, Diaz commercialized and privatized agricultural land, and through the Terrenos Baldios law, the state looked for deeds to identify who owned land, and if there wasn't anybody who owned land, or if there were some fucking super poor dudes who didn't have any money and couldn't find their deeds because they suck, they didn't have it. They yeeted that land away. They was like, that's mine. Mexico auctioned off some 50 million hectares, which is a shit ton of land. I don't know how big a hectare is. It's a lot. To bankers, land barons, and foreign investors. For example, the U.S. ranching companies owned like 13 million land, you know. Some of the land was, I think it was 13 million hectares, but I'm going to say 13 million land is my definitive answer. So basically, let's see here. Some of the land was taken from the owners of the communities who didn't have deeds. I mentioned that. That was a dick move, but it was good money, I guess, for the people who weren't poor. The land the state took was turned into haciendas, which was large land estates where workers were in debt. The haciendados ruled land abusively, paying workers in money that could only be spent at the hacienda's store. It was called scrips. It was fucking bullshit. It's like a barter system, but you could only barter with people that worked there. This forced the workers into debt because the asshole haciendados were like, "Alright, you get five haciendas dollars," and then the dude's like, "Sweet. How much does food cost?" And then food costs like 9,000 Aussian dollars. And he's like, "Damn, that's not a real term. I just made that up." So they prohibited strikes. The working day was fucking a long time. There were no holidays. It was pretty shitty. It fucked over the Mexicans, the Mexican culture, because they couldn't do shit to celebrate a holiday. They had no land. It sucked. And then the people who already owned land, they found resources, and they sold the resources to make more money, to buy more land and take more land away from the good Mexicans, because you know, whatever. Who the fuck cares about them? So that was the agricultural sector. The mining sector wasn't that much difference. Your boys in the U.S. and EU owned a shit ton of land and mining companies in Mexico. The working conditions sucked major fucking dick. The Mexican miners made the Mexicans were the miners, and then the fucking everybody else, the Europeans, were the supervisors, means they didn't have to do fucking shit. Mexicans were paid in silver. The white people were paid in gold. It sucked ass, especially in 1905 when silver was 50% of the value that it used to be. So in 1906 there was a strike. Canania Consolidated Company in Chihuahua. That was the name of the company where the strike was. And the location. The local miners were like, fuck this shit. They walked out. They demanded 5 pesos a day, which is not a lot of money, but I guess they weren't making a lot of money before, which kind of sucked. They didn't want to train the American workers because that's what they fucking had to do. Because it sucked, because it's like if you made 5 cents a day and you had to teach somebody who doesn't know how to do shit, who's already also getting paid money to do their job, but that dude was making like $200. Fuck that shit. So they wanted a fucking 8-hour workday, but Diaz was like, "Hey, fuck you, asshole," but he said it in Spanish. So he sent the Federal Army, which was the Rurales, to restore order. So they fight. 23 people died, and it doesn't say, the book doesn't say, but I'm guessing it's like 23. The dudes, the strikers, because fucking whatever. So the Arizona Rangers was called for by the U.S. They came. They stopped the strike. The workers went back to work with no change. And the Mexicans got kind of salty that Diaz supported the U.S. and not the Mexicans. And they got even fucking saltier because the U.S. brought their own army to come down and help. And they were like, "Dude, what the fuck? You're supposed to help us because we're Mexican and you're Mexican." Diaz just wanted that fucking money. This Then the shitty wages made it even harder for Mexicans to feed their family, so they were getting salty about that shit still. The foreign companies had more control than the Mexicans, and that was caused by Diaz showing favor. So everybody was fucking getting angrier and angrier. The Rio Blanco strike in 1907 also showed this, because fucking the government told the company to agree to demands that the fucking strikes had, which was, the demands were more money, less work. The companies were like, fuck that shit, so they shot protesters. The laborers had to return to work with no change, and the company didn't get fucking punished. That's bullshit. The economic fucking shit. With the economic shit, there was more railways. They needed that shit. So Diaz gave subsidies, and let's see if I can read my fucking handwriting. No bid contracts. I don't know what that means, but I'm pretty sure you'll figure it out. To foreign companies to build railroads. This allowed them tax breaks and low land cost. Railways increased income to industries. But, I mean, the industries were either like Mexican elite owned or fucking US company owned. I mean, foreign company owned, not just the US. So, the fucking little boy Mexicans that didn't make shit money still made shit money. Because, you know, they didn't own the fucking company. So, basically, the workers still got no profit. So, the railways, every industry sucks for the workers, but it helped Mexico out, I guess. Then the oil industry, that expanded also. Because fucking, this is caused by the discovery of the oil wells. Because they were like, yeet! No, there was a notable U.S. investor named Edward. I can't read my handwriting. His name was Edward. In San Luis Potosi. Oh, his name was Edward Dohent. He received, that's Dohent. He received tax breaks to develop reserve. And Diaz feared the U.S. was going to create a monopoly in Mexico, a fucking oil monopoly. So he was like, shit. So he was like, Get over here, you EU bastards! I need some cool dudes. So, Sir Wheatman Pearson. That's two last names. Sir Wheatman, W-E-E-T, man. Pearson, how you spell that? To develop oil fields. Wheatman was given a 50-year contract. That's a long time. What the fuck? For all of Veracruz, the entire place. Free of exportation of oil. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to export it. I don't know what that means. Oh! Shit! Might be. There were no tariffs on him sending it away, so he could just send it away for free. He could import equipment for free. He limited the taxes for Pearson so that he didn't have to pay shit. So Pearson created El Aguila. This fucking created the most productive oil well and controlled half of foreign investors in oil. It just grew fucking the best. It was the best. I promise you. You'll never find a better oil company. Go shop. However, this fucking led to tension with the U.S. because the U.S. was like, dude, what the fuck? We're supposed to be the dudes. And then Diaz was like, yeet. This attracted workers, but there were still a bunch of bad working conditions, which was shit. Anyway, Diaz wanted Mexico to be strong economically. He wanted new technology. He wanted to enter the global economy. He didn't allow modern political ideas like democracy because they were going to be like, hey, what about democracy? Instead of you being an asshole and being in charge for 30 years, why can't we get our shit? He was like, fuck that, I'm in charge. He jailed the political assholes who were like, hey! He stopped strikes with force. So basically, Ricardo and Enrique Flores Magón, is that part of their last name too? Yeah. Ricardo and Enrique Flores Magón thought Diaz was a dick, so they formed the Mexican Liberal Party. They called for a revolution. Then they were jailed for life. So Diaz didn't allow voting in local elections. So basically he got whatever the fuck he wanted. This allowed Diaz to be in fucking office for a long time. So all of his bullshit made everyone salty. Even the middle class was fucking mad, and there was not that many middle class people. And so everybody's getting fucking angry. And then the Mexican economy was getting shittier because everybody was getting so salty about how fucking shitty their conditions were. The Mexicans wanted the revolution because, here's a short list. Because of harsh conditions for the working class, exploited resources, foreign control of wealth, workers desired a voice in politics. They weren't going to get that no matter what, because fucking all the dudes wanted power. They get it eventually, I promise you. The workers demanded wealth opportunities. The native workers, the Mexicans, not the fucking white people, got half of the white people pay, and there was inflation. So there was a revolution. That started in 1910. This is the setup right here. In 1908, your boy Diaz claimed to be stepping down at the end of his own fucking term. At the end of his term. This was in an interview with an American, so he thought he could say whatever the fuck he wanted. He felt Mexico would be ready for democracy and democratic parties. So the Mexicans set up for an election. They formed parties and shit. They started writing books about their fucking what they wanted. One of the books was by Francisco Madero. It was called La Secesión Presidencial in 1910. He wrote that with his own hand. He said, these were his exact words, I promise. Fuck Diaz. Fuck his re-election shit. I'm gonna be president. Diaz was like, what the fuck is this, dude? Fuck this bullshit. I lie, and I'm not gonna quit being president. Fuck off. So he thought he was gonna be able to fucking choose the next president. He was like, he was like, fuck off, dude. And then Madero, not Diaz, Madero. Madero was like, what the fuck? So he said yeet. He acted against Diaz. He was very successful. He started a revolution. Diaz was like, dude, what the fuck? He got sick of that shit. So he threw Madero and his Maderistas, I guess that's the word, in prison. So after Madero couldn't do shit because he couldn't be elected, he was freed. But Madero was forced into fucking San Luis Potosi. Diaz made him stay there because Diaz didn't want him anywhere. Diaz got re-elected, which was shitty for Mexico, so Madero was like, damn. So he moved to San Antonio in Texas, and he wrote the fucking Plan de San Luis Potosi. This plan claimed the election was a bag of dicks. It was corrupt, and it was fraudulent, and he promised reforms, and he asked Mexicans to rise up in the name of Madero. He had two fundamental problems with his thing that nobody really cared about at the time because they were sick of Diaz. He didn't mention land and labor rights, and many of the fucking peasants were already revolting, and they didn't need his punk ass to make it fucking right, proper. Like, for example, under Emiliano Zapata, the Zapatistas were reclaiming lands in the South because of the fucking all the haciendas and shit. They were like, this bullshit. They went and fucked them up. So when Madero came back to Mexico, he let's see. I can't read my handwriting. But he got 500 men from Lucio Blanco and 2,500 from Pancho Villa and Pascual Orozco for his revolution. So that was 3,000 dudes. And then General Navarro in Mexico, when the revolution started, he was fighting. General Navarro wouldn't hand shit over, even though he was losing. He knew he was gonna lose. He wasn't gonna do shit. So Diaz sent representatives for peace because he was like, I don't want to fight the shit. But Villa and Orozco, without Maduro's fucking knowledge, because they're the Yeet boys, they said, fuck you, dude. So they attacked Navarro's garrison. They won. This allowed rebels to control railways and U.S. supplies. The revolts in the north and south, they were causing Diaz to sign a treaty because he was sick of it. He was like, I don't want this shit anymore. So he went to exile. And the treaty was called Treaty of Ciudad Juarez. This called for President Porfirio Diaz and Vice President fucking Ramon Corral to resign. They had to pay war reparations to the foreigners. That sucks. What the fuck? Uh, I can't read my handwriting, but it disarmed the rebels. It disbanded the rebels because they succeeded, and it named Francisco Leon de Barra the provisional president, which means he was going to be president until the election, which was in 6 months. So Madero was followed into office. Also, I think if it doesn't say it later in my notes, Porfirio Diaz left Mexico. He fucked off and went somewhere else. So anyway, uh, Madero was followed into office by his revolutionaries. But fucking when he got into office, he was like, fuck that. He kept Diaz's men in office because he wanted their cooperation. He thought democracy would fix the social and economic issues. But whatever. But since he kept fucking Diaz's men in there, the revolutionaries were like, dude, what the hell? They left the army. Like his army, sorry. They left his army, and then so all that was left was an army that Diaz had that had they fucked Mexico over anyway, and they were gonna keep fucking it over. They knew, but they didn't give a shit. They were salty. So there were many conservatives in Madero's cabinet that blocked reforms, which made Madero look like an ass. Made him look like a porfiriatist. I don't know. So Zapata was there. He was demanding land reform from Madero. But so what Madero did, the smartest thing. I promise you, this was the best thing ever. Zapata's fucking super unreasonable that he got mad. He offered. Listen. He offered a single ranch. He's fucking retarded. So Zapata was like, dude, you're an idiot. He got super mad. So he left. He fucked off to start another rebellion. Zapata, he wrote the Plan de Ayala, Ayala. He wanted a return of the stolen land, and he wanted to break up all the haciendas. Zapata, he got that boy Orozco as chief of his army, and Orozco accepted because Madero didn't make him minister of war because Madero is an asshole. So Madero was like, damn, there's another rebellion. So he made General Victoriano Huerta the chief of the federal forces, and Huerta served under Diaz. So Huerta's a dick too. So Pancho Villa was loyal to Madero, that boy back before who gave him some men and helped him out. He was a dude with Orozco that fucked up General Navarro. He remained loyal to Madero. So he was named a colonel in the army because he's a nice dude, I guess. So Huerta and Villa hunted Orozco, and they fucking beat him in a shit ton of battles. But they disliked each other because Huerta thought that Villa was a criminal because he used to be a bandit or some shit, but that was kind of fucking unreasonable considering how good he was in the military. So they got into a little scuffle. So Villa was like, fuck this shit, he fucked off. Which made Huerta arrest him and try to execute him. But Madero was like, no. So he saved his life. But so Huerta saw this as favoritism toward Villa, so Huerta got fucking salty too. So Villa escaped, and he recruited men for a future rebellion that was going to happen, which was kind of ironic. This asshole got 7,000 men. I forgot that I wrote that. That's a lot. But so anyway, Madero was a shitty leader, and he didn't act on a lot of stuff he said he was going to do, which got everyone mad. And this eventually led to a coup d'etat from Victoriano Huerta, the general, Felix Diaz, I don't know who that is, Manuel Mondragon, and Bernardo Reyes of someplace. You can just put Bernardo Reyes, Reyes. The whole coup was supported by U.S. Ambassador Henry Lane Wilson, who was kind of a dick. He was there to help U.S. relations try to get things to happen in Mexico that would benefit the United States, but whatever. So Madero was like, damn. So he resigned because he knew that he was gonna be fucked. So he got sent to prison, where he was shot and killed. His brother got shot and killed too, but I don't think that matters. So Huerta becomes president in 1913. He tries to increase military power and size. He encouraged haciendados to have private militaries. He was very militaristic. He liked to intimidate people. So the Diaz supporters came back into power, like even more than before. So yeah, it's back to what it fucking was before. So Huerta, like Diaz, brought foreign companies back into America. They did great off of the fucking resources. That made people salty. Woodrow Wilson thought that Huerta was a fucking huge dick. This led to Huerta's fall from power because, you know, U.S. is the big shit. Wilson was, he tried to make Mexico, he wanted to make Mexico cool like America. And he was like, Huerta is not cool. He's so last year. Because he's like, fuck it. So, let's see, what did I write down? This made Huerta salty because fucking Woodrow Wilson was trying to mess with Mexico. He was like, fuck this dude. So he fucked over the Congress in Mexico. He deleted that shit. It was gone. He held elections, but he won because he won them all because he was the boy. He fucking like everybody else rigged that shit. I've been talking for 30 minutes. It's the worst. I got you. Give me a minute. He kept making Woodrow Wilson mad, so he was like, "Fuck it." He asked Venustiano Carranza, the head of the Constitutionalists, to revolt. He was sick of Huerta and his fucking bald ass shit. By the way, Huerta was bald because he's fucking lame. So he asked Carranza to do it, but Carranza was like, nah, because he didn't want U.S. to intervene. So Wilson instead lifted the embargo that he put on the revolutionaries, and he recognized Carranza as the leader of the Constitutionalists. So Carranza was like, technically the U.S. isn't intervening, so he was like, yeet! And he began his resistance. So Carranza organized in the north, and he wanted the south to mobilize. He wanted Alvaro Obregon of Sonora to join him, and so he released his plan, called the Plan de Guadalupe. This rejected Huerta as president and put Carranza in because Huerta was a fucking ass. It made Carranza the interim president until the elections, but he didn't address reforms, which was the same thing everyone else did. It's fucking bullshit. Carranza allied with Obregon in Sonora, so he named Obregon head of military operations, where Plutarco Calles, who will be in the future, rose as a leader in the military. So Villa and Zapata, they fought alongside Carranza with him. So Huerta was like, oh shit, I'm fucked. So he left on 12th of August 1914. He went to France, I think, or maybe America. I don't think it matters. You look it up if you want. So Obregon got into Mexico City first. His army got there first. So he signed the armistice and prevented the Zapatistas from coming into Mexico City because I guess he didn't like him or some shit. He held the seat of power while waiting for Carranza, which created a gap between him and Villa. And since he fucked over the Zapata and shit, the Zapata sided with Villa. So there was violence between the two armies. Like, for example, the Battle of Zacatecas. This occurred, and it ended. It was just a battle between Obregon and Villa. So Obregon was like, what the fuck? So he met with Villa in Villa's camp for peace. And then Villa was like, all right. So then he tried to have him executed because Villa's a dick too. Everybody's a fucking dick in this shit. So Obregon was like, no. So on October 1st, 1914, the representatives met at Aguas Calientes. I'm sure that's not right, but it probably is right. That means hot water. They wanted to get peace. The meeting encompassed four groups: the Villistas, which wanted to compromise, they were under Villa; the Carrancistas, which wanted Carranza as president; the Independents, they wanted land reform; the Zapatistas, they wanted land reform, but I guess they wanted different shit. So the committee was headed by General Obregon and Angeles. It adopted Zapata's Plan de Ayala, where they wanted to seize foreign land and return land to the proper owners and fucking take land from enemies of the revolution and give it to some other fucking poor Mexicans. So the committee asked Carranza and Villa to step down, but Carranza was like yeet, and he was like fuck that, no. So the committee voted Eulalio Gutierrez as interim president, and so Gutierrez, it's the G-U-T-I-E with an accent over it, R easy. He was governor of San Luis Potosi. His followers would become known as conventionalists. So Carranza was like, damn. So he moved to Veracruz to hold the port, and Obregon joins him. So the two parties engaged in a civil war, which kind of sucked dick. So Zapata returned to the south to fight the constitutionalists, and Obregon is ready for a fucking fight. So in spring 1915, they fought near Celaya. Fucking what's his name? Villa sends his army, which is led by Plutarco Calles, who's a general now. I told you he was coming back. So Zapata and Villas, they had an alliance. Zapata and Villa had an alliance. That broke, so Zapata wasn't gonna do shit for him. Villa didn't listen to his advisors, and so he didn't do fucking the good shit he was supposed to do and decided to act on his own shit. So all this shit caused him to lose the fight. So Carranza wins. He's like, yeet! So Villa is in the U.S., who Villa thought was on his side, was sided with Carranza. So Villa got real salty, and so before he turned around and went back, he attacked the U.S. and then he fucked off. He fucked over a city. It didn't go well for him. So Carranza was elected in 1916. He proposes a constitution. It sucks. It's the fucking shittiest constitution. So the committee was like, alright. They make the awesomest one. The best. The most greatestest. So the constitution talk commences. Alright. So Carranza, he never worked for agrarian and labor reforms, which led to the Personal Confederation of Mexican Workers, or CROM, C-R-O-M. That's a thing you need to know. Zapata denounced Carranza in his manifesto to the nation, which reasserted his Plan de Ayala. So Carranza was sick of Zapata's shit, so he killed that asshole. And all these revolutions were creating discontent with the citizens in Caudillos, who were the military leaders. Don't forget that. So Obregon resigned as Secretary of War in 1917 and ran for president in 1920. He ran against Ignacio Bonillas, who was handpicked by Carranza to run. He was the Mexican ambassador in the U.S. So during the election, Obregon, with Plutarco Calles and Adolfo de la Huerta, which sounds a lot like Adolf Hitler, I promise that they're the same. They're not. They released the plan of Agua Prieta together. This called for the nation to arm against Carranza, who was rigging the election. The majority of the leaders were like, he's probably right. So they sided with him. Carranza was like, oh shit. He left to Veracruz, but he was killed on the way. He was killed on May 21st, 1920. Adolfo de la Huerta was appointed interim president from June to November 1920 until Obregon could become president. So he does. And so that's what happens. Alright. So the Constitution that was made, that they fucking remade, that the book waits until the end of this section to talk about. It gives you a little background of the Constitution before, and then it talks about it now. I got you right here. Let's go. Mexico became independent in 1821. They wrote Constitution of 1824. This created government and its responsibilities, but didn't say shit about laws. So after a bunch of revolutions, delegates met in 1856 to fix that shit. They drafted Constitution of 1857. This included a Bill of Rights. This stood until 1917, which is where that shit was. Carranza wanted a new constitution. I talked about that. He called for the convention. Alright. He made The convention made reforms to social issues. This is what Carranza did. Made reforms to social issues, but not agriculture and labor and shit. So the convention was like, this is the shittiest fucking shit I've ever read in my entire fucking life. What the fuck are you doing with your life? This is why you were a bad president. This is why everybody revolted against you. They thought it was actually the dumbest fucking thing ever. So they made a new one. 1917 Constitution. It had a shit ton of reforms, but here are the main ones. Article 27 was land reform. Article 27. The land was it said the land was going to be owned by a nation. They could be distributed only in public interest and necessity, only to the public. It gave conditions to the foreign-owned land where Mexico had power over resources. Article 123, labor reform. This allowed workers' unions. It gave limited working hours, 1 day off a week, fair pay, workmen's compensation, and better working conditions. It allowed workers to receive cash, not that fucking crusty script shit, where they're like, I'll have this, and they'll be like, I'm sorry, that's 500 scripts, and he's like, damn. It forced overtime payment. It outlawed child labor. It guaranteed safety laws, holidays, and maternity leave. That was pretty good. Articles 24 and 130 were the church reform, even more, because apparently the church still had power, I guess, or they were just re-putting it back in. Article 24 said, it said religious freedom. The church must follow laws and could only hold land for religious reasons. Article 130 separated church and state. It established limitation on the church as well as taking away its authority. And Article 3, I don't know why this shit isn't in order, was education, which made education free of religion, and it made it more nationalistic and scientific. I guess the presidents didn't really talk about the shit until Obregon, who was a great guy. He was the best president. Article 4 gave women equality. Articles 6 and 7 made freedom of expression and press. Article 8 gave right to assembly. Article 10 was bear arms. Article 13 and 14 guaranteed due process. Article 32 and 33 made Mexican treatment fucking more important than anybody else. Because, you know, everybody was like, oh, by everybody I mean Porfirio Diaz and Huerta was like, oh, the foreign investors are the most important. Piece of shit. So this was signed 31st of January 1917. That was the end of the book reading. But this is what Miss Nelson told us today. Obregon, he was president. Let's see. Obregon didn't want to give back land to the villages originally. So he signed the Bucareli Treaty with the Bucareli Treaty in the U.S. because the fucking nobody would recognize him, and he was sad boys. They did that in 1923, it's made all land nationalized, which means that even foreign-owned land was his land now. But except the land owned, I lied. I just lied to you. I'm sorry. It made all land nationalized except for the foreign land, who was kept. They were like, fuck Article 27, I guess. And so the U.S. recognized Obregon. So Obregon gave a shit ton of land to the ejidos, but the land kind of sucked dick because it was like desert and shit, and not actually farmable. The best land, because the best land belonged to the investors. So Pancho Villa's like, what the fuck, you asshole? He comes out of retirement. He flames Obregon. This is 1923. Obregon doesn't like this shit, so he assassinates that asshole. And so then there's gonna be another election. He endorses Plutarco Calles. This makes Adolfo de la Huerta super mad, so he has an uprising. He fails. He moves to Los Angeles. So Calles becomes the president. That's the end. That's 1823, I think. 1923 when he becomes president. The end.